said broadcast. Maybe that was wrong.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Here we go. Hello, everybody. We are just waiting for everyone to get in, and we will start in about 2 minutes. Hello, everybody. I'm Ami Kassar from Multifunding. Kate Stackhouse, my colleague, is here with me. She's going to be the moderator today. We have a lot of content to go through and a lot of people attending. This is a very fluid situation, and we want to do our very best to serve the community. Kate is going to collect all Q&A, and then at the end of the presentation, we're going to go through as much Q&A as possible, and then make resources, other online resources available. We are well aware that everybody is in desperate need of information, and we want to do our very best to, as Multifunding, to help the greatest entrepreneurial community get through all this. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to go through about 25 slides. I'm going to try to describe in as much clarity as possible the situation on the ground. Please understand that information is changing almost hourly, and we are giving you the very best information that we know as of today. We have a website up that will share the link where we will continuously be providing updates, and information or knowledge that we share today could be different tomorrow. So please, I ask you for your empathy to understand we're doing our very best, and we are going to provide as much information as we possibly can. A little bit about myself. I am the founder and CEO of Multifunding. We are a loan advisory broker and consultant that does a lot of work with SBA loans. We've been around for 10 years. We help businesses get loans in ordinary times, and we're happy to try and help assist in these times. But by no means is anyone here under an obligation to use our services. We want to do the very best to disseminate the information out as much as possible. I write a weekly column for Inc.com that you can check it out. I've been featured in all the press. I have a book out called The Growth Dilemma. I have, in prior administrations, advised the White House, Federal Reserve, and the Treasury Department on business credit markets. I have a few typos there. I apologize. And I'm a proud member of Entrepreneurs Organization in Philadelphia. So let's begin. We're going to really try in this presentation to uncover SBA plans in progress, documents we feel that you should get together now. Do you have a liquidity in your business that you can leverage? Tips to negotiate deferments on current loans, preparing a revised forecast budget for 2020, and advising you whenever possible to stay away from short-term online loans, even in this crisis. So let's start about the big question in the room, which so many people has, which is the SBA. There really are two important points to uncover. One is the SBA emergency injury disaster loans that are coming out. And secondly is the government's efforts that we believe the legislation will be approved this week to boost regular SBA programs. And what's important is to understand the differences between the programs and decide if you are going to look for money, which way you want to go. So let us start with the emergency injury disaster loans, what they are. The SBA is going to begin to issue disaster assistance loans right away. It's really important to know that if you choose this route, as of right now, you apply through the government, and the government is going to process your loan and render a decision. There's no bank in the middle, and the government is actually lending you the money. Before you are eligible or might be eligible for one of these, your state will have to declare a disaster zone first. As of this morning, the disaster zones that have been declared are California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, and Rhode Island. We expect more, but as of this morning, those are the only states that are open for disaster relief loans. You need to understand that these loans are processed, underwritten by the government and not a traditional SBA lender. And so you have to prepare for what is likely going to be a long and bureaucratic process. We hope that they'll do better, but in Hurricane Katrina, it took 5 months before, in many cases, the SBA was getting money out to affected borrowers. And the types of businesses that are potentially eligible are small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, and most nonprofit organizations. So how makes you eligible for one of these? You have to incur, by the law, substantial economic injury, which means you're unable to meet your obligations and pay necessary ordinary expenses. The EIDLs are designed to provide the necessary working capital and principal to help these businesses get through these times. The SBA can provide up to $2 million, and the loan amount will be assessed based on your economic injury and your company's financial needs. They will review financials month by month. If you're planning on applying for one of these, you better get ready to get your financials from last year prepared on a month-by-month basis so they can see what damages you expect to incur over the next few months as this goes through. We've heard lower numbers, but the interest rate on EIDLs will not exceed 4% per year. They will determine your repayment ability, but the term of these loans will not exceed 30 years. The repayment term will be determined by your ability to repay the loan. The EIDLs are available to businesses only where the SBA determines you're unable to obtain credit for requests elsewhere for credits greater than $350,000. There's legislation underway due to this crisis that says if your request is under $350,000, the credit anywhere criteria will not be met. The maximum loan amount is $2 million. And on these loans, to be clear, they involve personal guarantees, and they will likely require a lien on your business and your home in order to get it done. So these are not a cakewalk. They're not an easy, simple money. They're not free money. It is a loan application, and it takes time to get them, and you're going through the government, and it can be bureaucratic. Updates, and we will be providing an email to everyone after this webinar where you will be able to check these links. The links will tell you, where to apply, where your area is eligible, and where to submit your IRS 456T. You're going to have to declare a request for transcripts before the SBA will apply this. We're not 100% sure if the IRS is going to be fully staffed to run these, but we certainly hope that they are. So that's a little bit about SBA economic injury loans. In addition to this initiative, the government legislation is underway, and we expect will be approved in the next few days to increase regular SBA loans. And they will increase these amount by an additional $50 billion from the $30 billion that was already on the budget for this year. And our understanding, the new legislation will allow the use of proceeds for these loans to include loan for payroll support, including sick leave. It is our understanding that the SBA is going to waive all 7A loan fees for both lenders and borrowers. It is our understanding that the government is going to provide a 90% loan guarantee for all loans, no matter the size. And it is our understanding that for the SBA Express, which is a line of credit product, which still is a complete application, they will take these time for these amounts from $350,000 to $1 million. So there's a lot of juice and effort, and you have to decide in a way if you're going to if you're looking for money, if you're going to apply for an SBA loan, or you're going to regularly through these new rules, or you're going to apply for a disaster relief loan. What all this means in English, SBA lenders will soon be incentivized, and we hope it will work, to take on more risk and leveraging their processing and lending capabilities. We think the government realizes there's no way they can themselves process all of this. They're not used to it. They're not in the business of processing loans by themselves. So they're hoping that they will leverage their lender networks to get loans out there. What this means is that regular government fees will go away. And what this means is that SBA lines of credit, standard lines of credit, will likely now be $1 million versus $350, but in most instances will also require a regular SBA 7A loan to apply. So my thoughts to all of you is you have to think about what you want to do, and these are difficult decisions. You can apply for an emergency loan. The pros of that are there are lower rates and longer paybacks. The cons is we expect this to be a slow and complex process, and unless they change something, there will be no buffer between you and the government. Alternatively, you can try to leverage these new rules, encourage to make SBA lenders more applicable. You will likely this way get to the finish line faster, although we expect queues to be full. And the cons is that the rates won't likely not be as good as the emergency loans. However, you should probably get to the finish line faster. The reality is that as of now, the same rules apply to getting a regular SBA loan as they did yesterday, although the rates and the guarantees are higher. And you also have to understand that these options are not mutually exclusive. You can try and apply for both at the same time. A little bit about the SBA that everyone has to understand. Every individual can be eligible for up to $5 million of SBA loans if you have the cash flow and you have the liquidity, and you have the cash flow and the credit to support it. I've heard some rumors that this amount is going to go up to $10 million, but none of that has been verified. If an individual business has a loan of greater than $350,000, the SBA will require a blanket first lien on all of your business assets and a lien on your house if you own one. So let me be clear, if you have more than $350,000 of debt on your business today, and you want a big sum of money, more than $350,000 from the SBA, they are going to have to refinance all of your existing debt by current rules. If your request is $350,000 or under, the SBA lender can take a second lien on your business assets and is not required to take a lien on your house. So if you feel that under $350,000 is enough juice to get you through the next few months, that might be a good alternative because it allows you the flexibility to keep your current loans intact. If you currently have an SBA loan, they are very difficult to refinance. There are lots of rules around that. You can still apply for a second SBA loan under $350,000 to sit behind your current one. That is an acceptable thing to do. Trying to put this all for you in English. It depends on your business size and your situation, but you may be eligible to get an SBA loan for $350,000 or less to shore up your balance sheet over the next few months. This will be a 10-year term. The interest rate, we believe, is after the drop is 5.75%, and you'll have monthly payments of $38.41 if you take the full $350,000. There will be personal guarantees. There will be a second lien on your business assets, but no prepayment. So hopefully when we get through this in a few months, if you've recovered from it, and if you want to, you can repay the loan. The regular government guarantee fees go away. SBA lines of credit will now be $1 million versus $350,000. But remember that any loans greater than $350,000 will require a first lien on all of your business assets. If you're interested in the $350K or loan program, our general experience is, other banks might have other caveats, is that you need a FICO score of 650 or higher for any owner of 20% or more. If you do not know your FICO score, it's probably a good idea to go to Credit Karma and check it out. You need to have been in no bankruptcies for the last 5 years. You need to have been in business for at least 2 years. and you need to have had positive cash flow for last year. So the question is, what can you do now? Many people are wondering and feeling quite desperate. The truth of the matter is, there are some steps you can take immediately if you think you're going to be applying for a loan to prepare. We strongly advise everybody, even if the government is going to delay the filing deadlines for the tax returns, get your taxes in as quickly as possible. Particularly if you had a strong year last year, the filing of these tax returns will give a lender further proof and comfort in giving you some relief money. Secondly, you should start to put documents together. A personal financial statement. I know those numbers don't look as good for many people as they did 2 weeks ago. However, getting that together, and we will provide a link later and in the email afterwards where you can get the personal financial statement form and start to fill it out. Likewise, we're going to want to look at any lender will want to look at a business debt schedule of all your current debt. And we will also be providing a community of form with that business debt schedule. So I beg of you, before you call any lender or call us, or whoever you might call, please get together and prepare 3 years of business and personal tax returns. If your 2019 tax returns are not available yet, the lenders are going to want to see your year-end 2019 financials. The personal financial statement of any owner's greater of 20% can be downloaded at the link that we will provide. And the business debt schedule will also be downloadable at the link we will provide. You really need, out of fairness to the lenders, and the lending community is also going to be struggling to get everything through as quickly as possible. It is important that you get this information together and ready to submit before you call us so we can process everybody's information in as timely and accurate a manner as possible. There are some other questions out there about liquidity to leverage. I don't know what banks are going to be doing, but you should look at your lines of credit, which should be 10% of top line sales and 85% of AR and 50% of inventory, the greater of. It's certainly not a bad idea to go to your banker and ask them to increase your line. They may or may not honor it, but it doesn't hurt to ask. But if you're going to do that, you should have all the information I just shared with you ready to go to the banker, because it'll just make the process more streamlined. There have been many questions about deferment of current loan payments. There's no legislation as of yet. There are rumors about deferment of some SBA loan programs. However, our advice to you is, if you're worried about the next few months, get ahead of the curve. And if you think you're going to need it, approach your bankers and proactively instead of reactively try to get them on the front end instead of the back end. I would also advise, and I know this is difficult, in preparing the files for your lenders and for yourself, working on some forecasts and budgets for 2020. We'd like to see what your opinion is, a best case, a medium case, and a worst case scenario for how your company is going to end up the year. Having the foresight and preparation to do this and presenting it with a package to a lender will only give them comfort that you have taken the time to think about it and that you have a story to share with them. And my last piece of advice to you is to beware of short-term online loans. There will undoubtedly be a lot of scams coming out imminently with people offering quick and rapid money to desperate small businesses with rapid repayment terms at exorbitant interest rates. Our advice to you, if you possibly can, avoid those loans. They can be like crack cocaine. Better than take one of those loans, do everything you can to lower your expenses, manage your cash flow. But suddenly, if you have some hundreds or thousands of dollars a day being deducted from your bank account every day in a quick repayment of a loan you took out, this could create a worse situation for you than you are now. So if you are going to borrow money, we beg of you to try to get it on the longest possible payback and try wherever possible to leverage these government programs that allow you a long time. Having 10 years to pay back a loan versus 3 months to pay back a loan is a huge difference. And the only you can have a lot of control on that. There are 3 particular resources we want to offer the community before we start taking questions. We have set up an online community, and again, these links will be provided to everybody. multifunding.tribe.so, where we already have a couple hundred people sharing insights, asking questions, experiences, and we're trying wherever we can to provide knowledge and insight and updates to the community there. This is an ever-changing scenario, and we encourage you to go online and get engaged there. And if you have insight, and if there are any bankers on this phone or SBA experts on this call who could help us keep up that community updated, that would be great as well. It is a resource because it's very difficult for us to respond to every individual question we get, and we cannot cope with it. So we're trying to put it in an online community, and we beg of you to do that. Information about the SBA disaster loan program, if that is the route you're interested in, can be found at SBA Disaster Loans. And if you want our help, you can certainly reach out on the link to multifunding, and we will do our best to offer you help. That is, I know we have a lot of questions queued up. That is the presentation today. And Kate, if we could open up the floor to Q&A, we'll do our best to answer that.
Okay, we do have some questions here. One that we'll start with, what if you're being impacted by the crisis, but your state is not listed on the SBA site for disaster zone?
I advise you to get the information we've requested together, and then you can decide whether you're going to apply for a regular SBA loan or wait for your state. Remember that from historical experience, the states get inundated, the SBA gets inundated, and that can take a very long time to get the money.
How does the SBA determine substantial economic injury? How do you prove it?
We believe what's going to happen is they are going to want to review your financials month by month from last year, as well as your prediction of what's going to happen month to month over the next few months of this year. And they will compare one and the other and then determine financial injury that way.
I'm wondering how to redo my 2020 budget. How much of a drop do you anticipate? I'm in commercial and residential construction.
I wish I had a crystal ball. I think that's why we encourage everyone to do a doomsday forecast, a medium forecast, and it's all going to be okay forecast. I wish I knew. I hope. I'm optimistic in 2 months we're going to be through the worst of this, but I'm not a doctor and I'm not an epidemiologist, and I don't know.
What happens? We have a regular SBA loan for a partner buyout, and we are still paying it off. Are we still qualified to apply for the disaster loan? Can we have 2 existing SBA loans?
You are qualified to the disaster loan, and if you prefer, you could apply for an additional SBA loan of $350 or under that will sit in second place behind your current SBA loan.
Do we qualify if we are not a profitable business, still losing money monthly, and rely on investors whose interest is now slowing?
You might qualify for a disaster loan, but it is unlikely that you will qualify for a regular SBA loan if you were not profitable last year.
Does your current business debt include accounts payable?
Typically, you do not include your accounts payable on your current business debt schedule when you submit it.
What kind of business assets would they be looking to take lien on, like equipment? What if you're a service business without that sort of thing?
The SBA is going to take a blanket lien on whatever assets are available, but it does not require collateral to get the loan. So service businesses are absolutely qualified to get SBA loans for relief, even if they were not, even if they don't have hard assets to back them up.
Is the Credit Karma score the one the SBA looks at?
The answer is I'm not 100% sure. The SBA is likely going to run their own credit score, but Credit Karma should give you a good gut check about where you are.
I own a digital media company, and collateral is always an issue for companies like mine. Do you know if the SBA is going to relax their collateral requirements during this time?
Again, SBA, one of the beauties of SBA is they are cash flow lenders. They are not collateral lenders. So that should not be a concern. Any service company, they're going to look at your historical cash flow. They're not, especially if it's 350 or under, they're not going to be concerned about the collateral in your business.
How would you handle existing credit card debt for the business? Is it better to seek an SBA loan to pay that off?
I would do both. I would be asking your credit card companies if you are terribly concerned about the next few months, if they have any deferment programs, and then certainly I would look, if it is possible, to get an SBA loan to pay those off, because anything you can do to buy yourself more time in this situation is probably a good idea.
I have a software growth company, growth in revenue, that had lost last year, negative profits. Can I still be eligible for SBA loan, even year over year, 2019 versus 2020, with growth of 20%?
You may be eligible for a disaster loan, or you might be eligible for some kind of private mezzanine lending. It is unlikely that you will be eligible for a regular SBA loan if you lost money last year.
Is there any chance that a startup that is not cash flowing positive can win an SBA loan or EIDL?
The reality is that most SBA lenders are probably going to tackle first the profitable companies before they will look at startups. So if you're in a startup situation and you want to apply, you should probably consider the EIDL before the regular SBA loan.
Can you speak to how nonprofits can utilize the SBA loans?
Nonprofits are typically not eligible for SBA loans. However, they can certainly apply for an EIDL if they want to. They are eligible for EIDLs, but not regular SBA loans.
Can I file taxes on a cash accounting basis and submit financials for review and accrual? This would be massively advantageous for my business. We currently are operating in accrual, but have been filing cash the last 3 years.
I think you should file according to however you've historically filed. And when you submit to the lender, you should submit your accrual and your cash and explain the differences. The best thing to do is to be above board and clear with the lenders and be explaining to them what's going on in your business. It'll get you to the finish line faster.
If the small business has its headquarters in a state where disaster loans are not available, but has a store in a state that provides such loans, can the company be eligible for a loan to provide relief for the stores in that state?
I'm not 100% sure how to answer that. I'm sorry, but I suspect that the loan will be based on where your headquarters are and where you file your tax return.
I think we covered this before. If you're about being impacted, but your state's not listed yet, we'll also put that on the community board so that that'll be there for review.
Okay.
Is this USA only? I'm based in Canada.
The SBA loans and the information I'm providing here is only for the USA. I wish I knew information about Canada. I don't. I'm sorry.
How does a loan 5 months later help if we must be unable to meet obligations to apply?
I wish I had a good answer for that. I'm not the government. I'm just trying to do my human best to get every entrepreneur the information they need to make good decisions. Hopefully it'll be faster than 5 months, but it wasn't last time.
Now, I'm not sure how to answer this question, but Sue asks, did I just hear if request is below 350,000, we will not qualify?
No, I don't know where that confusion came from. I'd encourage Sue to go to the community, but that's not the case at all.
What is the qualifier for substantial loss?
Again, folks, I didn't know anything about economic crisis loans until 48 hours ago. My understanding is that they are going to review month by month your financials from last year. So let's say you made $50,000 of profit last year in March, and this year you're going to make nothing. That loss, they might quantify that loss as $50,000, but that's generally how they assess it. They compare year-to-date financials for the disaster loans.
What if you don't have a home for them to attach a lien to?
No problem. They're going to take it if they can, but if you don't, that's okay also.
What is the 36-hour review process?
That's in the legislation going around, but that's saying that the SBA will review the loan applications in 36 hours. That sounds too good to be true right now.
A lot of questions about will the PowerPoint be available? Yes, we'll make that available. We'll email the PowerPoint out to everyone who's on the call today, along with all the other links. And the community will also have these uploaded, hopefully by tomorrow. Regular SBA loans faster by how much?
We think if the regular SBA application is under 350, it'll be faster than if it's over 350. Usually the 350s are under, we can get done in 3 or 4 weeks. However, that's going to depend on capacity, and we expect the queues are going to get flooded. The lenders are going to do everything in their power to get them through as quickly as possible. We know that people need the money, but we can't be assured how quickly they're going to go.
Okay, let's see. Alex says, I have an SBA loan already. It was 1.9 million with 750,000 left to pay. Can I increase this back with the bank? And should I talk to my bank on this or go to the SBA?
It's probably better to talk to your bank. You have 1 or 2 choices. You can see if your bank is willing to increase the loan amount for you to give you some working capital infusion. Or you can go try to get a new SBA loan of $350,000 or less from a different lender that would sit behind that loan.
Can you get an SBA loan if you owe the IRS?
No. Well, in most cases, no. Sometimes if you are on a payment plan, you can get by it. But unfortunately, I imagine that many lenders are not going to have much time for those special situations right now. They're going to focus on the deals they think they can get through the fastest.
What if the debt is in the form of a convertible note that are not technically debt because they are designed to convert into shares in the business at a qualifying event?
Typically, convertible debt does not have a lien on the business, and it's really more of an equity instrument. And therefore, in most cases, lenders are not going to consider that as debt that they would, in the typical formulas that they would do.
If you're an LLC and had negative cash flow last year, It appears there are no ways to get an SBA loan of any kind. Is that correct?
You're most likely, if you had negative cash flow last year in an LLC, your best bet is probably to try for an emergency relief loan and not a regular SBA loan.
What happens if you have an investment group like a venture capitalist that is a 20% owner? What documents would they need to submit?
If it's a venture capitalist that is, if you have an investor who's an individual who owns more than 20%, they're going to have to personally guarantee the loan to get through it. I think you would be fine with a venture capitalist, but any individual owner who owns, if it's the entrepreneur who owns 20% or more, is going to have to be willing to stand up and personally guarantee the loan, which is a tough pill to swallow if there's a venture capitalist in there.
Just scrolling down here. How long is the queue for traditional SBA lenders?
It really depends on who the lender is and the type of loan. We've gotten SBA loans done in 3 to 4 weeks or 2 years. Depending on the complexity of the loan, and there's real estate involved and all kinds of things. And we recognize there's not a good answer to that. I'm sorry.
Do you have to be in business 2 years in order to apply for an SBA loan?
You don't, but likely the businesses that have been around at least 2 years will have a higher chance of getting the regular SBA loan versus the disaster relief loan.
Just searching for questions that aren't overlapping. I just want to explain
to everybody who's listening. We are doing our very best to give the information that is available to the best of our knowledge. And this is a new situation and a fluid situation. And so the advice and counsel we're giving is based on our instincts and the information and knowledge that we have. It might be that there will be surprises or bankers doing different things, or SBA lenders or new legislation will come out tomorrow. I just want to reiterate to everyone that the advice we're giving is based on what we know today and what we know, and it could be different tomorrow.
Someone is asking are there any tips or guidance on how to stretch cash? For example, stretching vendors' terms, offering payment discounts for quick payments, etc.
I think there are probably other resources on the web that are better than me, but just if I couldn't reiterate more, that cash is king during this time, and anything you can do to nicely get ahead of it with vendors is probably a smart thing to do. And hopefully within 60 days, this is all going to pass and we're going to be back on our feet, but no one knows for sure.
What is the limit on the regular SBA loan? 1 million or 5 million?
As of today, it is $5 million.
Are SBA loans available to organizations structured as C Corps?
Yes.
How can we reach, hang on one second. Can you clarify the respective program requirements for refinancing existing debt facilities?
They're going to look at your historical cash flow. So if you have debt that is amortizing over short periods of time, say 3 years, 5 years, it might be very wise to take the time to put that into a 10-year note right now. But they're going to look at your historical cash flow to make sure that they're comfortable with your ability to make the payments. Kate, I just have a question. I see participants raising their hands and also in the chat, and I see in Q&A. Are we do we want everyone to be putting their stuff in the Q&A or in the chat? Is there a process you want to follow?
I think we're pulling from both at this time, and I don't know that we'll ever get through all of these questions. So again, reminding everyone that we are going to take all these questions and add them to our community.
Great.
And that community link will be in the follow-up email so that you can go there and also go through them and read for yourself if we don't get to your question today.
Great.
Let's see. Will banks want to increase your LOC rather than see a much worse situation? Do banks want to help? I have a remaining loan on my business for $750,000 and a lien on my business and house.
We're certainly going to hope that banks are going to want to help and do everything in their ability to help businesses and entrepreneurs during this time. That's really what they're there for. However, many of them might want to move towards the SBA because it gives them more backup in case everything gets worse than it is today.
Do you have to be determined to be unable to obtain credit elsewhere to get a disaster SBA loan?
If it is, my understanding is that if your request is greater than $350,000, yes.
Okay. Some of these are very detailed that will have to go into the chat. Do all the owners who own greater than 20% need to exceed FICO scores of 650 for the $350,000 SBA loan?
In most cases, yes, unless one is an anomaly, but that's probably a safe assumption.
If you own multiple businesses, how will that affect overall evaluations if one business is needing the capital?
They will review it for the business, but they're going to look at your global cash flow to assess your ability to pay back.
If we apply for the SBA Express, will a disaster loan going to be available to us?
We don't believe they're mutually exclusive. We believe if you really want to hedge your bets, you can try and apply for both.
Can we apply for a US-based business with foreign ownership?
As long as at least one owner is US-based who owns 20% or more, then the answer is yes. And that owner is willing to personally guarantee.
Our sales dropped 90% in the last 2 weeks, but we're okay before then. Our inventory shipments from China are also delayed. How do we show impact of very recent events?
I think you will have to get counsel. If you choose to handle that through a disaster relief loan, you're going to have to get counsel directly from the SBA how to do that. If you choose to do that with a 350K or under loan, the requirements will probably be less arduous and less bureaucratic.
The SBA 350K amount has been mentioned a lot. Is the actual loan amount determined by, I'm sorry, they keep jumping. Is it determined by the need, or is the $350 more of a standard loan amount?
It's 350K or under that does not require a lien on your house and can go in second lien on all your assets. And it might be a much lower amount, and the SBA will determine that based on eligibility. So it's not a 350 loan, it's 350 or under. I think the minimum amount is 25 or 50K, but it depends on your historical cash flow and your ability to service the debt. More than $350,000, they require a first lien on all your assets. $350,000 or under, they don't.
Is there a prepayment penalty on the SBA loan under $350,000?
No, no.
A lot of thank yous to Ami for taking the time to do this. Is deferred compensation going to be considered on the debt schedule?
Should not be.
Does the SBA check personal and business credit if you're incorporated?
The SBA will definitely check personal and business credit for the 350 or under applications. They will definitely check personal credit on the greater than 350, but maybe not business credit.
A couple of questions about how your business can help.
You multi-funding?
I'm assuming that's the assumption I'm
We will certainly
gathering.
try to help as many entrepreneurs as we humanly can get regular loans or regular SBA loans. That's the business we're in. And we are doing our very best to provide the information, and we will process people as quickly as we humanly can if they want our help. We are loan brokers, so everyone's clear. We are not direct lenders ourselves. We have a network of about 150 lenders that we use around the country.
What if you're continuing to bill out revenue, but the issue is the slow down of the receiving money? For example, doing work for insurance companies that will have problems issuing checks timely.
That's probably more of a liquidity issue and a better question, better resource. You might want some term debt to back it up, but you might also want to look at your line of credit, or maybe moving to an asset-based line where you will be able to borrow at a percentage of your receivables instead of a straight line of credit if you think your receivables are going to grow a lot in the next few months.
How do you determine whether to leverage a loan or a line of credit?
In a traditional world, lines of credit are there for liquidity, cash flow issues and emergencies, and term debts are there for investments. My advice to anyone is, if you can shore up your balance sheet now with some term debt to prepare for the unexpected, and even if you prepay it in a few months when hopefully everything stables, it's probably a good idea.
Is there a rule of thumb about what percentage or multiple of cash flow the SBA provides to service companies?
It's not really a rule of thumb. They have some complicated cash flow calculations that they use. Global cash flow scores of like 1.2 or 1.25. But if you're profitable and making money last year, you should be able to hopefully get one.
If you have a traditional bank term loan, can you also seek a disaster loan?
Yes, or you could also seek a SBA of 350 or less.
Ali asks, I hear what you're saying about businesses that lost money last year, but what if the loss was very small? Do you know if SBA will consider lending when losses are small?
They might, especially if the owners were able to take home some income as part of that loss. And if there are some add backs or some one-time events.
Michelle asks, I have $3 million left of my current line. Is it better to draw it down or apply for a disaster relief loan?
If you think you're going to need some of that money over the next few months, I would hedge my bets and draw it down. Again, hopefully we're not going to repeat a situation of the last crisis where banks started shutting down lines of credit. But if that happens, possession is 9/10 of the law.
If you have an existing SBA loan, are payments being waived on that, or can you refi that with an additional amount of a loan?
It's very difficult to refinance existing SBA debt. you can certainly talk to your lender about asking for some deferments. There might be legislation about that. There's rumor about it, but right now it's on a bank by bank basis.
We may want to just, I'll take this question and you can just clarify. To be clear, the 5-month timeline is for disaster loans, right? What is the typical timeline for regular SBA loans?
So I want to be clear that the 5-month timeline I'm quoting is what happened in Katrina. We're hopeful the government will be able to push them through faster this year, but the demand is probably going to be much greater. So we're just not sure how that's going to work. Our typical 350 or under loans get through in about a month, but that could speed up or slow down, because speed up if the banks get really organized and waive some requirements, or slow down if the demand just gets so strong that no one can keep up with it. We don't know. That's why we advise everyone to start getting their documentation together. As in fact, at multi-funding, we just put in a policy this morning. We can't talk to anyone until they've submitted the information that we've requested, the tax returns, the financials, the debt schedule, and the personal financial statement, because you're going to need that at some point. And that's our way of, we each have individual responsibility here to get our stuff together. And we also have individual responsibility to other people who are also struggling. So we are requiring, as of this morning, that before we can speak with you or one of our loan advisors, if that's the route you choose, you have to have that information together.
Okay. Please confirm you will not qualify for any regular SBA loan if you lost money in 2019.
Again, I want to be clear. Every SBA lender makes their own decisions and has their own credit box. So you could go walk down the street to 20 SBA lenders, and you might find one who's going to be willing to do a loan for you based on a projection-based model. However, as we expect everyone is going to be inundated, the reality of the situation is many of those applications that are much more difficult or based on forecasts or projections may move to the bottom of the piles as people try get the stuff through to the stuff they think they can get done faster.
Chris is asking if there's limitations by industry for SBA loans, $350,000 or less.
There are some limitations. I wish I have them. We'll provide them in the community. Like, I don't think the SBA will do porn shops or, like PORN. I think PAWN. If you're in the money lending business, they won't lend you. So there are a handful of industries they just won't lend to. I believe those rules will apply to disaster loans and to regular loans, and we'll get that information out.
If my company is selling over $150 million and I currently have a loan with a bank for $20 million, will the SBA provide me with a loan?
That would depend on the industry that you're in. And there are different size requirements by industry. And so what we'll do is we'll post that link up on the community site so people can go research their industries. I don't know for sure.
Under what circumstances would the SBA put a lien on personal investments of an owner, especially an owner who is over 65 and dependent upon their retirement account?
SBA will never put a lien on a retirement account. They will put a lien on a house or residence or personal real estate, but not on a retirement account. But age does not matter in that calculation.
If we already have an SBA loan, will that help us get another SBA loan faster?
It may or may not, depending on how your company is performing and the historical cash flow and how you've done with that SBA loan. The short answer is it depends.
Seems like we're getting a lot of questions, or people are asking your recommendation on forecasting for the balance of the year.
We haven't done that, but we are going to see if we can get a online service to help build a model for those and get that up in the next 24 hours. It's a good idea. We just literally haven't had time to do that yet. I'm sorry. If there are any accountants out there or software people who think they could help with that and make that a service to the community, it would be an awesome idea.
Are personal guarantees required for not-for-profit emergency loans?
I don't know the answer. I'm sorry. We'll try find out and post it.
Yep. Any preference to veteran status in the SBA process?
There are some usually the veterans get some fees waived, but it seems like the fees are going to get waived for everybody. So I don't think it's going to be applicable in the next few weeks.
What if your primary bank already has primary lien on your business tied to asset loan / line of credit? However, the line of credit is unused and only about 6 months of top line revenue.
You may or may not decide whether or not you want to tap into that line of credit now. That's up to you. And then the second part of that is you may or may not decide if you want to apply for a 350 that will sit behind the bank loan and give you extra buffer. Again, I want to repeat here, everyone has to decide how aggressive they want to be in responding to the situation, and no one really knows. It could be, we could be back to business and normal in a month and 2 months and 3 months or 6 months. I don't know. So the decision everyone has to make individually is how aggressive they want to be. I don't want to be forcing debt down people's throats. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of the options that are available to them, and then they can decide what's best for them.
Okay. Did you say with the SBA emergency loan, you have to have personal guarantees, including liens on business and lien on personal house? What if you're an LLC?
Any member of the LLC who owns more than 20% will have to personally guarantee and put a lien in your house. The LLC status doesn't matter.
Are there any specific programs for women-owned minority businesses?
There might be some on your state level or your city level, but I'm not aware of any specifically that would help right now on a federal level.
I received a $350,000 SBA loan 2 months ago. Can I request a disaster relief loan and refinance?
I don't think you can refinance with a disaster relief loan, but you certainly can go apply for one to give you additional capital, and or if you want to go to a different SBA lender that got you the 350 2 months ago and try to get another one, if you have the cash flow to support that, you should be able to do that.
Roger asks, can we get an SBA line of credit even though we don't currently need it? We want to have it before we need it.
You can, if the bank will apply to you. It's just there's a chicken and an egg game. I just want to be candid with everyone. Banks, as a general rule, would prefer to issue SBA term debt than a line of credit. And so you have to decide if you want to get the term debt, even though you're going to have to start paying interest on it, versus the line of credit. It's not that many banks do the SBA lines of credit, and it's unclear how the $350 to $1 million rules are going to get in, who's going to process this. We don't know yet.
And will contracts and receivables be taken into consideration?
Absolutely.
These are some repeat questions. I'm just trying to pre-look at them before I send them over. Is there a cash balance limit on being able to get the disaster loan?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
Any questions we don't know, we're going to try through our sources, do some research and find out and post in the community. But I'm not going to tell anyone an unclear answer if I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't know, did you, under your screen there, it's black now. I just want to make sure we still have everyone, or?
I think everyone's here. Let me see if I can go. Here we go. Sorry, guys. It's probably my fault.
Just want to make sure. I don't know if this is applicable to everyone. I know this was really information only, but people are asking for your contact information, and can you say something about your fees on helping people with lending?
The contact information, please don't email me directly if you possibly can. My email box is getting killed. Please go to the link below, multi-funding, here's how. And to be clear, we don't charge for SBA loans. We will get paid commissions if we close loans by the lenders. We won't be charging you upfront fees. If it's bigger, more complex situations, we might require deposits, but we're not sure of how many of those we're going to be able to handle in the next few months.
Okay, I see a recurring question about classifying yourself as a contiguous business versus, or a contiguous state versus an individual state for disaster. I'm not sure if that's something that's on that the link where what states have already declared disasters. Is there a classification for contiguous?
I don't know, guys. We'll try find out the answer and get it back in the community.
Perfect. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? What kind of rate differential is there between dealing with an SBA lender and the secondary broker market? I'm
sorry, I don't understand that question. So the question is, if you're dealing with somebody like me or an SBA lender directly, you can try it. I sense that in this environment, every SBA lender is going to be charging the maximum, which right now is 5.75% for SBA loans. I don't think there's going to be any lower pricing. I could be wrong. I don't think so. It's too risky for everybody.
Can the SBA put a lien on a trust?
I'll have to, we would need the specifics to answer that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Our state just declared a state of emergency yesterday. Does this open up eligibility with the SBA? How long does it typically take between when a state declares an emergency and when it's eligible?
It seemed like that was happening within 24 to 48 hours, but we'll keep the community apprised as new states become open. There's a process. The states told us to apply for the SBA then for the emergency funding, and it has to be processed.
What if you've tapped out your line of credit and SBA loan? Can you qualify for more assistance?
Depending how you did last year, and if you have the cash flow to back it up, it's very possible. They might want to refinance that line of credit as part of it. It just depends on the situation.
Do you know, is there a place on the application that explains your situation? The SBA form seems to look like a tax return and standard liabilities.
Again, on the disaster application, I've never done one, and I don't know how that process works. I imagine that at some point in the process, you're going to speak with a loan consultant through the government, who's then going to ask you those specifics. I want to reiterate, I'm sorry just to be, and I don't know how much time we have left, but you have to, I'm going to flip back through some slides here just to try and reinforce some points to whoever's left, okay? You have to really make a decision if you're going to try and apply for an emergency loan. To reiterate, the rates are lower, but they historically have taken a long time and it's very bureaucratic to get them. Or you're going to try to get an application in for an SBA loan that we believe the government is going to have open it up, the spigots, to try and encourage banks to do that a lot more. Although to do that, you have to apply the SBA rules as yesterday. And remember, the options are not mutually exclusive, but you kind of have to choose the route you're taking. And what you really can do today when you hang up the phone, if you want to take steps in the positive direction, is you need to work with your accountant to get your 2019 taxes done as quickly as humanly possible. You need to work on your personal financial statement. You need to work on your business debt schedule, and you need to work on getting together your 3 years of business and personal tax returns and your last year's financials. No one is going to be able to help you without that information. And if everyone's taking responsibility for themselves, when they hang up, those are the first things that they can do to get this process going and better understand what your options are so people can advise you. The other thing that is a good idea from this call is we're going to see if we can partner up with somebody real quick to help entrepreneurs come up with best case, medium case, and worst case scenarios, so that you have something to help with the loan application. I'm happy to take more questions, but I just wanted to reiterate those 2 points.
Okay. We have a question from Peter. When you say profitable, is that determined by positive EBITDA or net income?
Again, it depends on the situation, but most likely positive EBITDA, and they're also going to look at cash flow.
A lot of these questions are really some of the same that we've already answered, and I think might be best if we put them in the community and again,
okay,
provide those links.
So folks, we're gonna wrap up here. It's an hour and 10 minutes. I want to remind everyone also that as the situation is fluid and there's new information, we will be posting that information on the community site as quickly as it becomes available and answering your questions. If you have questions, I beg of you to go there and ask them so that people can see it holistically instead of us trying to answer them one by one. It's just more efficient. And also these webinars are going to continue every day at noon Eastern time this week, and we'll probably extend them to next week as well. So that if you have questions or you have friends and business colleagues who also have questions, you can feel free to let them know that these webinar sessions are available. For those who are going to be reaching out to multi-funding, please realize that we're pretty stretched, but we'll do our best humanly possible to help everyone. And we just want to be the best service to the community as we possibly can during these difficult times. And if that's okay, we're going to end it here, and we'll be back in line tomorrow at noon, and the community will be going. And pretty soon you guys will get an email with a link to this, all these links, and a recording of this presentation, whoever wants it. And I really thank everybody for their time and being with us today. Okay, I think we're gonna end now. Kate, is that okay?
I think that's great. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
You did it.
Just saying how many people were viewing.
I think at the high we had